Hey, 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 welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. All right, everybody, welcome to the show. Good morning. You know that saying that said, if I threw a party and nobody came, how would I feel, right? I remember it, and I got to be honest with you. The first party that me and Ron Placone threw together at the house in Pasadena, it was like a Seven Fishes Italian party. But we were nervous, and it was a great turnout. It was like, 25, 30 people, and we were like really happy about that. Close to 30 people. We're like, this is cool. And we did it again the following year and whatnot. But we were nervous. Kind of get those feelings every morning when I get here. I'm like, hey, people have had the weekend to sit there and go, what are we doing waking up so early for this nut job over here? Then I wake up every Monday and I come and you're all here hanging out for me. Morning, Lady Alex. Good morning, Katie Kane. Good morning to our all-star, all-American, all-team producer, Gabriel Freedom. Good to see you. Enterman Bill hanging out. Love to see you, brother. Probably hanging out at the Rumbles. And everybody else. Where's Fred Edward? Is Fred Edward floating around somewhere? Is he there? Did I miss him?
I don't
Somebody
think
call
so,
Fred Edward.
but I'm out of it today.
That there, ladies and gentlemen, is one Sleepy Josh. Sleepy J, how you doing, brother?
It's been a tough morning.
Challenging to say the least. Econ Cars there. All those awesome people hanging out in the Rumble, guys. Do us a favor, do the like, do the share thing. We had a space on censorship, and it was a bunch of homeless left people. When I say homeless left, I don't mean just Matt Weinglass, because Matt Weinglass was one of the co-hosts with me. It was Jay Johnson. Garland Nixon showed up to talk a little bit. Levi, or is it Levy from We the People, he showed up to talk a little bit.
I think it's Levi.
We were talking about COVID and the left and censorship and everything like that. So didn't make a huge splash as far as numbers, but it was some great conversation. And yeah, that took place over the weekend. So interesting enough, we were able to talk about censorship and where we stand and how hard it is, because trying to make sense of something that you can't see what's happening, right? Like you don't know exactly what's going on. We don't understand what YouTube is doing behind the scenes or Rumble, how they're censoring people and shadow banning people. It's not an open source system. So we don't know how their algorithm works. But we can look at it. We can, kind of judge for ourselves. See, there's a lot of team sports players on these entities. I mean, I was looking at Rumble. Rumble is just not even just the right-wing YouTube. It's the right-wing Christian YouTube. And I don't know. They seem like sheep herding operations, if you ask me. YouTube's not fair. They're censoring. Let's go over to Rumble where Peter Thiel was there.
Hey, turn up your audio a little bit.
The technocrats are round us up in all spots. Sorry, Sleepy?
Turn up your audio a little bit. A
Again?
little bit quiet.
Is that better? I mean, that microphone's on high and loud. Is it? Make sure the right microphone's on. It says sure. How's it sound now?
It's a little better. I only say it because the someone in chat said it, and I can't hardly hear out of my ears.
Audio dropping. So. Maybe it's me as I'm turning away, and maybe I just got to stay more grounded. Let me just try to do that too as well. Make sure it's there. This is a new setup for me, by the way. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I got a low desk now and a low chair. Feet are actually on the ground. So it's a little bit different for me. I don't want to go for the high standing spot anymore. I still need to get the adapter for the camera and the lens so I can show more of the table. Tim Dillon show. You see that show there, Sleepy? The way the big table's there? I don't know if I got to show all the table, but I want to show a little bit of the table. I want to pretend. What's up, X-Boot Liquor? What's up, Stace? Good morning. Good morning, Robbie Burns. Look at you. I change up. I rotate the sunglasses. Last Friday, I had these on. And the thing that's common, I bought these each for 20 soles each in Peru. These are, you know what I'm saying? These got a green lens. And I was like, give me those. Like $7 each. And yeah. So I'll be switching the glasses out periodically throughout the shows. Who else is out there? We don't know if our friendly neighborhood Zionist is coming through this morning. There's some people who question me, Pasta, why do you have Alex on? He's a Zionist and stuff. And I know people have a low tolerance for the chaspra that he's spewing. But at least he's still talking to me. At least we can embrace each other. We can still tell each other we love each other, whatnot. I don't believe that he believes exactly what's really going on there. I do believe when it comes to a lot of Zionists, the way a lot of Americans, and there's a lot of them out there, tell themselves the lies. They believe the lies, right? I've lost several friends over this whole Israel-Gaza October 7th attack. Two people really, really close to me, man, and we really haven't talked since. I think the final straw, too, was when I was on Jimmy Dore, I had Norm Finkelstein come on. And they didn't like that at all. And it sucks. One of them really, really close to me. The other one, they were both really close to me. You know, they're Northeast-born Jews. And they believe that, all the things they were told in Bible class. We have Bible class. They have the same thing, right? They have their Torah class or whatever it's called. It's like Bible class, and they instill all the propaganda. Under great odds, everybody hating them because of their religion, they were attacked and they were able to fight back. The same shit we were sold in school. But the thing about it is, one of them in particular, one of them's like a father figure to me, and I still don't speak to him this day. And he was really close with me, and that hurts, man. But Alex will talk to me, and he hasn't cut me off or got mad at me or whatnot and said this is bullshit. He disagrees with me, and we can talk. And there's a lot of other Zionists out there that I want to make sure I keep the conversation going. I think a lot of them are propagandized the same way we were propagandized. We have to understand that, so we have to be patient and understanding. So when people say, why do you have this guy on with you? The Talmud class. We're propagandized, man. Taught, programmed. It happens. We can have compassion about it. We can still stand our ground, and we can try to convince people that, what they're doing is wrong. Now, listen, there are statistics out there. Professor Mohammed Morandi said on a show when he was going back on the Piers Morgan show, when he was going back and forth with Alan Dershowitz, he made a comment, and I don't know where he got the statistic from, but he said 48% of young Jewish people believe in America, 48% believe that Jews have to live side by side with Palestinians peacefully to make this work. So that means that the needle is moving. People are getting convinced. People are opening up their eyes, And this ain't one of those situations, crew. Don't get me wrong. The majority of us where we stand on this situation, This ain't a right or wrong situation. This is get your head out of your ass and look at what's going on over here situation. So we can stand our ground on that. We can push that. And that's still going on to this day. I mean, that's, I think people are waking up and seeing what's happening, and I can hope they are. I still think there's a lot of people who've dug their ground even deeper. Seen the way a lot of Trumpers are out there still kind of holding their beliefs, regardless of what they've seen. Every promise broken. There are people who are being moved, I think, and opening up their eyes. At least that's all we can hope. What are we supposed to do? It's not working. Screw it, guys. I'm sorry. We're going to shut down drive time in the morning. No morning show. It's of no use. I'm sorry, Fred. I'm sorry, Lady Alex. I'm sorry, Stace. I'm sorry, Bob of Atlanta. It's not working. What are we doing? Sure ain't doing this for money. I ain't waking up at freaking 7 ass wipe in the morning for money. There ain't no check to do so. It's me telling myself, let's dig deep. Come on, let's meet Josh there. Let's meet Gabrielle there. Let's do this. Come on, that's for my crew. I can push it. For you, I can push it. But if there's no sense of doing what we're doing, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? Never got into this for money. Never did it because I wanted to get, famous and get a check. I would have stayed in Hollywood trying to do that if that was the case. So what do you do, right? We were trying to talk about solutions yesterday. So let's talk about really, really quickly about COVID really quickly, okay? Because I said, well, maybe one of the issues that we're dealing with is independent thinkers there, right? And I was referred to at Defeat the Mandates when I went there, when Trevor and oh my God, she'd be so mad if she knew I forgot her name. Another young lady who also a Tulsi person too as well. A lot of these people were Tulsi people. God, I forgot her name. She was a friend of mine and she's really cool. But she would introduce me. This is Pasta Jardula. He's a common sense leftist. That's what they would say, right? Common sense leftist. I loved it. Everybody's quoting an officer and a gentleman in the thing. But what do we do as we're trying? Me and Matt have the show COVID Conversations from the Left, right? So how do we convince people, to see what's going on? Once again, COVID too as well. This ain't no debate for me. This is some planned out shit. I might know exactly who, when, or what room it happened in, but we know what was going on there. We know what it's about. We know the government lied to us. But how do we convince people, that might have the ability to wake up and see what's going on and say, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't trust Big Brother altogether. Maybe I shouldn't trust my government 100%. I want to remind everybody, it is a call-in show, by the way, and the number is 561-247-2721. That is 561-247-2721 if you got something to say. Seems like people just waking up and kicking back. Don't worry. Kick back. When you're ready to call in, I'll be here. Me and Sleepy will be here. You just sit back and enjoy the ride. How do we convince those people to listen and look and see what COVID was all about? I mean, because the COVID-19, that situation had more cracks in it, more lies to support the original lie. It had more lies than I think the moon landing, for crying out loud. I mean, it was every little set, right? PCR, bullshit. Asymptomatic spreads the disease, bullshit. Good morning, Marie. We were waiting for you. There are people out there right now who are, and that's the thing. We're talking about what happened. Nobody was accountable. How do we change this? How do we stop this from not happening again? Remember, they got people to quarantine into their house without even putting a tank on the street. How do we stop the next one? Well, I think we also have to talk about what's going on right now. Really, there's been no serious dissecting of the numbers where a lot of doctors who are, once again, and this is something I did. If you want to know what the majority of my research was when it came to these doctors, the frontline doctors, the ones who were out there going, yo, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, early treatment, got to be taken as part of a cocktail. It's a zinc dianophore, so you have to take zinc with either the hydroxychloroquine or the ivermectin, vitamin D, vitamin C. Vitamin D was probably the number one thing that we needed, and they shut the beaches down, for crying out loud. That was a good one. Yeah, Gavin Newsom for president. We're talking about all those things that happened. What about right now, dissecting what happened, that people are saying, there are doctors who are saying that the shot that's out there, the new one, the Pfizer's working on 2 new ones, I think it is, or Moderna is, or Moderna got their flu shot, just passed. I don't know if it's emergency use authorization, which is a crock of shit. You can't sue them. They have protection. Why would they put out a product you're going to be okay with? They just want to make money. But what's going on right now? Are people having blood clots from this, right? Clot shot. Is it really connected to the vaccine? We have to pull these things. We have to stop these things. That's not happening. Like I said, I think they're getting ready for Pfizer to approve 2 more shots. One of them being for a child, which the child vaccine schedule is just, I mean, ridiculous. And it's kind of funny how the populist right holds this ground right now of pushing back because they don't trust the government, right? It was hippies 40, 50 years ago on the left that said, don't take the vaccines. Everything is just flipped on its face. But what about what's happening right now? It's like we're just moved on. We're not talking about it anymore. Donald Trump and his connections to Big Pharma has always been, it's been there, running around with Johnson & Johnson as he's getting booed on the stage, right? How do we have those conversations right now? How do we peel into that, ladies and gentlemen? By the way, I've had one small sip of coffee, but let me get you the real good one. Here's the first real sip because it's finally, this is the year of the Haas, the year of the horse, in other words. Harry the horse. That's from Guys and Dolls. Here we go. Good morning, guys. Drive time. Let's give us a call. 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. One of y'all is going to have to make a leap of faith. Here it is. First sip of coffee. You're watching or listening to Drive Time. Ex-bootlicker. What you doing? Good coffee. Still got to make it down to Nicaragua. I got to get us our own coffee. Our coffee. Send it out to us. And right now they say there's good distribution, which is short for distribution. You guys in the pizzeria, get good distribution on the pie with the mutts. What's up, Fred? Good to see you. Got to get us our own coffee. But anyways, those are some of the topics I've been thinking about over the weekend, thinking about the COVID. I got a lot of flock camera stuff up there. I bought Flock these nuts, like 4 years for $44. I don't know if I'll ever use the channel whatsoever, but I got it. I got a lot of flock stuff. I mean, a lot of flock stuff. I'm very happy, at least, that there's a movement of people from all ideologies going against this, right? And by the way, the war still going on. You guys, we're still, taxpayers are still paying like, what, $2 billion a day, $1 billion a day. I think it's toned down a little bit, but we were dropping bombs like it was going out of style. Pentagon is drafting new nuclear strategy to expand options for tactical nuclear weapons use. So they're having conversations about it. Yeah. That's the psychos we got in our government. Do we have a caller? No, not yet. Guys, what's going on? Help me and Sleepy out. Let's wake Sleepy up because Sleepy is sleepy. 561.
I'm awake. I just don't feel very good.
I'm trying to disguise that. 561-247-2721. That's 561-247. Bernie Sanders blackjack. A lot of talk's been going online about the new Saeed guy too, right? The guy from Michigan who won. A lot of his stances being anti-Russian. A lot of talk about him online, as well as that. It's been a lot of flock cameras. It's been a lot of that. Obviously showing stuff of Trump here and there. I don't know. Kamala Harris, here it is, right? Here it is. Let's show this. We got to show this over here. Kamala Harris got herself back into the ring, into the news cycle, right? Man, how can we miss you if you don't go away? How can we miss you if you don't go away?
I miss the word salad so much.
I mean, remember that Russia's a big country and Ukraine's a small country. Dude, I got her years ago and just to show how stupid she was. And it's like, I know she's going to agree to this question. So I'm going to show you how she's a fascist, that she doesn't believe in free speech. So I caught her and I asked her that question. This was at a press conference. So, you've been vocal, and this is way before they took down Donald Trump's Twitter and the whole January 6th theater thing, which was all organized, all planned. All planned, man.
All right, now we do have a call.
We do have a caller. Dr. Abdul El Said, Vice President Kamala Harris understands the key role of the U.S. Senate playing in a lowering prices for Michiganders and holding Trump accountable. Caller, before I get nauseous talking about Kamala Harris, can you tell us who you are and where you're calling from?
Yeah, hey, this is Kevin from Rockaway.
Kevin, I had 3 guesses in my mind, and you didn't even hit the radar. I am so glad it's you calling on in. What a way to start our Monday. What a way to start our week with Kevin from Rockaway calling in. Probably got a lot of things to say. Haven't heard your voice in a while. It's good to hear your voice, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'll tell you, it's actually the opposite in a way, because I feel like what we all have to, I mean, I know we've talked about on the show before that Americans, how propagandized we are, but there's such a disconnect, not just in American propaganda. I listen to some, let's say the BBC, or I'm not a fan of the guy, but he does have good guests, sometimes Piers Morgan and stuff. Yeah. And there's such a disconnect between the national propaganda and just facts, and it just gets tiresome. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what do you spend your whole day researching this stuff? You know what I mean? And you're like, well, they're saying this, and somebody else is saying something else. So, like the Fauci thing, and now he was for a long time. There were plenty of people who didn't like him, and there were plenty of people who were like, well, I don't know if anybody was really ever crazy about him. I know I wasn't. I was just like, I don't know. This is what they're saying. They're saying we wear a mask.
I think the team sports mentality is what got people behind Fauci. It wasn't just that his work was out there. It's just the fact that it was one side versus the other side, and this is what my side is saying, so I got to get behind the captains of my side. And he certainly was a captain as far as, delivering the message and the rules and whatnot. But, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's now when you're looking at his emails and stuff, you saw he told people pretty much experts to lie about the origins of COVID, right? You know what I'm saying? It's there in black and white. You can't avoid it. It was, he misled people. And I think that people who still kind of believe, and there's a lot of people who do listen to WBAI, right? A lot of leftists, I think, bought into more about the COVID, about, and it was such a Jedi mindfuck, because when it comes to the immigration situation, right? The lefties are the ones who make, so many sacrifices, do for our community, do for the immigrant community. They're human. They're one of us. How dare you treat them like shit, separate them from their families, and not respect them as human beings? You call yourself a Christian? And I think we see that, and we kind of plug that in to the COVID situation, where a lot of people, I think, on the conservative side, unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but fortunately, they got it right. Some of the people would, they got a little bit crazy, a little bit too Alex Jones for me. Where did it come from? They were certainly going along with Donald Trump, calling it the China virus, which was such a fucking lie. But I do think, Kevin, that people kind of got behind this whole situation simply from the way it was politicized, left versus right, red team versus blue team. So it wasn't Fauci per se. It was he was the captain of the blue team at that moment, and people had to get behind him.
Well, I have to say, I must admit to thinking Trump calling it the Kung flu. It's not very politically correct, but I always thought that was really funny. But at least the only thing I could give Fauci is that he didn't walk around like C. Everett Koop with a, like an admiral's uniform on, like with the epaulets and all that, because I'm old enough to remember the AIDS, when AIDS was first coming into public consciousness, and I was still an occasional churchgoer then, Catholic church, and I remember there was a person who definitely was, they were HIV positive, that, whatever, because of their because they had no immunity, they were quite sick, and they had those red blotches on them, all over them, and people coming out, and they would sit in front of the church. I think it was a woman, and she, on purpose, I believe so. That's so people would see her, and the way people would avoid going anywhere near this person, because they didn't know. Was it airborne? Was it, what was it? People just don't know, or they didn't know, and that, I think that's by design. I'm also somebody, I've been to Japan, like almost more times than I can count, and I remember being on the train, which their rail system is amazing, but I would see people with masks on, and as an American, it would freak me out, because I'd be like, what do they do? Like, what do they know that I don't know? What's going? Like, what's going on here? I'm all like the movie Outbreak. I'm all chemical core. Like what's? And my wife was just simply, she said to me, "No, they're going to work, but they feel a little sick today, and they don't want to spread it." But like Americans, like, we really, if you look at anything from World War II, I forbid we ever get in a situation like that again, because there are no Americans who are willing to make any sacrifice that doesn't affect them, personally. You know what I mean? Like, like, I'm not saying that everybody should have put the mask on. I'm just saying that, people, I was of the belief that, just like, hey, you don't want to put the mask on, don't put the mask. I mean, if you're wearing a mask, then obviously you don't need me to wear a mask, Having said that, I was working at the Department of Corrections at the time, and when the very first we'd heard of it, I'm getting old now. What was it? Was it maybe like, it was near February 2020, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, December is when it started, like, creeping in the news, December 2019, and by January it was like, and then February it was full blown, and everybody knew, it was like, hello.
Yeah. And I remember we had a roll call, and the roll, it's like the like those police shows in the morning, everybody comes to a roll call, and they tell you your post and all this. And there was a girl who came, and she was wearing a mask, and she was doing it exactly for that. Like, she had a little bit of an upper respiratory infection, and you're going into a room with people, a lot of the inmates, or detainees, as we call them now. A lot of them have been living on the streets a long time. A lot of them have, they have a decreased immune system. You know what I mean? And she's basically doing it to protect people. And I remember there was this assistant deputy warden who, ripped her a new one in front of everybody, because this wasn't the policy yet. And he was like, "Are you trying to start a panic in my jail? And what the, he flipped to where she was in tears. Within 2 weeks, Pasta, it was mandatory. All of us wore it. So, like I said, the propaganda versus the facts. You know what I mean? It's a very tough thing to kind of parse. I do remember going to I had to take an inmate to the hospital, Elmhurst Hospital, and maybe getting there and being like, the driver in the car the driver in the van, they just used transportation. He was like, make sure you put your mask. And we didn't have, and forget about N70. We didn't even have the nurses' masks. We were in construction, like guys who do demolition, those kind of like construction masks. That's all we had. And we walked in there, and there were people, like the nurses were basically in hazmat gear. And I will tell you that in my first, we were there for about 5 hours. It turned out the guy had strep throat, but by the time he left, he probably had COVID, because everybody who was walking in had COVID. And it was mostly, people who were weaker people. I remember an older Hispanic guy like walking in. He was very, very skinny, and he was coughing. And by the end of the night, I saw 8 people get their ticket punched that night, like in the emergency room, like just die. And it was, now my look at it was a little bit different, because Cuomo closed a lot of the hospitals and stuff, and said, oh, we don't need St. Vincent's anymore. We don't need all these city hospitals that are costing the city all this money. And they had no respirators. Now, had they had respirators, these people who probably just had very bad asthma or whatever, and, happened to be exposed to the virus. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I do know I saw 8 people die that night. You know what I mean?
The respirators were killing people, it almost seemed like, like if you were on a respirator, you were just on your way out.
Yeah. I mean, but they can say, I've known people in my own family who, I've lost people who had, God, I should know the name of the diagnosis, but it's pulmonary fibrosis or something like that. And, a lot of them, like my mom and my sister, had really serious attacks, and they were on a respirator for a while, and then they were back, and they lived 3 years afterwards. I'm just, this is just my experience.
So let me ask you now, Kev, and you don't have to answer. We can kind of, just talk about it the way you want to. But all in all, what are your thoughts now when you look back and now we see the Fauci stuff? Because I have a video right here. When I say there are cracks along the way, where there's more lies than the moon landing for COVID, I actually mean it. I followed this thing and everything they were talking about, and it did seem like there was an overall arching plan from the ruling class. Like I said, it was more about a virus and a vaccine. It was also about control, what the government can do, what powers they had when they call emergency powers. What rights do you have? What rights do you lose? And I think this whole COVID situation was a lot to do about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, because of the CARES Act, you're talking about one of the greatest upward transfers of wealth to the 1%. New billionaires were made. I often said, like the COVID era, right? They made all these billionaires. It was like years of big farmers' term to enrich themselves. And after they were done, it was big military-industrial complexes' turn. And now the military-industrial complex, they're making money. Who's making money next? You know what I'm saying? What big industry is going to have their grab along with the government and the state and the globalist of sorts, or whatever you want to call it, the stakeholder capitalist, if you like to call it that, to make all this money? Like, what's going to make money? But what are your overall thoughts now when you look back at it? And I'm going to play this video too as well. When I say, cracks in the dam, and this is something that shows you, right? Like, did they do this? Is this revelation of the method where they tell you don't have to wear masks? Like, we told you don't have to wear masks, but then you said wear a mask, but you originally told us not. Is it revelation of the method that Dave from Melbourne talks about, where the oligarchy or the ruling class tell us the truth about what's going on, so then they're removed from any karmatic response or energy? I don't know if that word is a word, karmatic. They're relieved of any karma coming back on them because they told us, Kev. Or is this a situation where the communication between them is so bad that they said, no, what are you doing, Dr. Fauci? You got to tell people to wear masks, because the mask thing, and from your story, and this is, I talked about it all the time, it was very mental. When you see people walking around with masks, and this is why that boss got pissed off 2 weeks before, it brings panic. It brings anxiety. So the more people wear masks, the more anxiety and the more on edge you get people, the more easier it is to control them, Kev. So, just saying that's why we saw a lot of this. And before I played this video, but I wanted to get your quick thoughts on now that you look at the whole situation, because I know how it was on the left. I know how they were about COVID, and a lot of people were just sincere that they wanted to help people. They wanted to do what was right for their community. A little naive to believe the bullshit from where it's coming from, especially when it's industry. I mean, the left alone should not believe stuff because it's industry. It's the military, not the military industrial complex, that's now, but then it's big pharma. The left, progressives, got in the streets to march for Medicare for all. They understood who big pharma was. They understood who the enemy was. They just forgot during COVID. Kevin Cash, you're watching Drive Time, everybody. Call in if you want to, 561-247-2721. Kev, your overall thoughts right now as you look back. Does a guy like me have some impact on your thoughts?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Does a guy like me or people like me who, where I stand on COVID, do we have any impact on your thoughts, or are you kind of in that same space you were in when COVID was going on?
No, I do, because I have a couple of thoughts on it, but they mainly be anecdotal and speculation, because like I said, I don't trust what they were saying was the science necessarily. I do know that during the first Gulf War, everybody was getting hit with this stuff to go over, because they were burning the as this is the first Gulf War, 90
the burning of that get everybody sick.
As Saudi Arabia not Saudi Arabia, I'm sorry, as Iraq was retreating, they were burning the oil fields, and it was literally just everything was toxic, so they were giving people, and there was even talk back then, they were saying, well, gee, why is it that I can't remember, I don't want to, not like I'm going to diminish these people who've done enough to diminish themselves, but but why is it that Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz, all these guys have money in this this particular thing that everyone's getting shot with? Mm-hmm. Now, what I was going to say is that a lot of guys got sick, and they were calling it Gulf War syndrome afterwards, and they got very sick. Another thing that I think about all the time is how is something very interesting, which would not. I mean, well, I guess it might serve the 0.1% and make it to 0.2%. But I have to tell you, I don't think anybody missed their hedge fund manager during the lock-in. But I'll tell you what, I had to go to work every day because the jails don't close. Police had to go to work every day. Firemen had to go to work all day, every day. The real working class, the people that make and deliver food, had to go to work every day. But nobody was missing their corporate lawyer. They were like, "Yeah, well, screw them, stay home. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't need them, and it really shows you who runs the society. The people who keep the water running and the sewers going and all that. The transit authority, the people that make the world go round. I know I'm talking from a very New York City centric point of view, but I mean, that to me, that just showed, who really, not who owns the world, but who runs the world. You know what I mean? And it on the one hand, you could say it's them because they got all the money, and on the other hand, you can say, well, I didn't see any hedge fund managers, running around, delivering food or anything like that. There was one more point that's kind of
I wonder. I mean, but really unpacking that really quickly, and maybe the other point will come to mind. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, our co-host has shown, he's in the building, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Strenger is in the building. What's up, Alex?
What's up, man? Sorry I'm a little late. Just woke up like 5 minutes ago. My girlfriend had to poop while feeding her kid, and here I am co-hosting this beautiful morning show. Very excited.
Very, very nice way to come on in, talking about bowel movements. Have your coffee, ladies and gentlemen. You're here with Drive Time. Alex Strenger's in the building. We're talking to Kevin from Rockaway. We're talking a little bit about COVID. Really quickly, and you'll be able to pick this up, Alex.
I wore the right shirt. Look at that. I wore the perfect.
Put him on the big
shirt
screen real quick. Let me move this out. Hold on. Let's put Alex on the big screen.
There you go. What's up? How are you? Yeah, I picked the right outfit for today's episode. You could buy this at my Etsy shop if you visit alexstrenger.com/store. So, let me tell me more.
All right.
Know. Sorry.
All right. So chill on out. Wake on up. Yeah. Join the conversation. Keep your anti-woke ass on the sidelines. I love your hat.
I wore it for you, actually.
Thank you. We're talking about COVID, and we had a conversation yesterday. I was on a Twitter space, and we're having conversations, and we were saying, how do we convince people on the left or independently, whatever, the ones who kind of got duped by COVID, that, it really was. And there are so many pieces of proof. It's like there are more pieces of evidence. There are more lies, I believe, in the COVID-19 narrative than there are in the moon landing when we went to the moon. I mean, it's every little thing from PCR, from asymptomatic, not spreading the virus, all that stuff. But right now we're here with Kevin, and Kevin is he was kind of explaining his position.
Yeah.
And Kev, your position seems to be like, maybe you can clarify it a little bit more, because what you're telling me is that you were very suspicious of Big Pharma and their position they played when this thing went down. So give us a little bit more about where you're at, where you're at with it today too, as well.
It's much. I mean, just all you have to do is look at the pharmaceutical commercials where, they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you medicines for acne, but the side effects might be suicide. So. But what I did want to say was, at around that time. You had the protests going on in Hong Kong. You had the kind of it was still pretty vigorous. The remnants of the Arab Spring, which was already being super politicized, and everybody was jockeying for position of who was going to rule. And then you had the United States, and it was very funny to see the way what you would consider a real totalitarian or dictatorship would run, which is basically they absolutely shut down the Hong Kong protests. It absolutely shut down the Arab Spring. But here, we just had half the country saying, we had Trump who was saying, nah, it's nothing. You inject yourself with some bleach or something. So every issue has characteristics that belong to that country, like the same way Chinese to say they to differentiate themselves from the Soviet Union, that they'd say Marxism with Chinese characteristics, right? Mm-hmm. So we had capitalism with American characteristics. That was really the point I wanted to make, is how quick. I mean, like if you had all these people on the left saying, "Oh, Donald Trump he's a dictator. He's a dictator." I was like, well, if he's a dictator, he's a pretty bad one, because China shut. I mean, they slammed that shit shut. You know what I mean? And so does all these Arab countries. Whereas here, we had the leader of the country saying it doesn't even exist. So I wanted to welcome Alex. I'm sorry I haven't been around a while. I've been listening though. I couldn't get through on Thursday, but you're doing a great job. And hello to everybody. Hello to Sleepy. Hello to everybody. And I'll let you guys take it from there, man.
Kev, don't leave me yet. I just had to open up the door real quick for the person stuff.
Sure.
Are you implying though that they were that this was also to shut down or quell? You talked about the Arab Springs. For those people out there who don't know, are you talking about the Arab Springs in Syria? Pretty much that was the uprising, and in Hong Kong.
It spread to
Yeah.
Syria. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it started in Tunis with the people remember people emulate. What do you call that when you set yourself on fire? And then I think the real hot spot for it, not to terrible pun, but the real hot spot for it, where there was actually, I mean, almost a mega Minnesota type moment was in Cairo. Was certainly, that's where, but it had spread throughout the Arab world after that. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, Kevin. How do you feel nowadays when you hear about what the protocols were? Right, remdesivir, ventilators. I guess you have a situation where somebody went on a ventilator and it was a positive outcome rather than a negative one, because the majority of people that went on ventilators during COVID never came back. Right, it was the last Hail Mary for a lot of them, and ex-bootlicker put here, hospital administrators killed more people during COVID than COVID. And when you do look at the Fauci chronicles of sorts, the old protocols, you saw what he did with ATZ and AIDS and the way he was connected to Big Pharma then. And if you
AZT.
AZT, what did I say?
ATZ.
AZT,
Yeah.
sorry.
AZT, yeah.
AZT, yeah. The Dallas Buyers Club, and there was a whole movie about during AIDS and how it was like Big Pharma controlled so many of the protocols and whatnot. I'm curious, if you look at this stuff today, you look at remdesivir. Remdesivir failed the Ebola trials, for crying out loud. Not only the AIDS trials, but the Ebola trials, right? And there was one doctor, Dr. Richard Cole, I believe his name is, Ryan Cole. He used to call it run, death is near. And he'd say, oh my God, this stuff is terrible. When you look back and you see the protocols and you see that the drugs didn't work, if you did pay it, maybe you didn't see that. What are your thoughts today on those drugs?
Well, I don't think that. I think that just because of the amount and just because of the amount of people that were put on. Let's put it this way: the supply definitely, or the demand outstripped the supply of things like of ventilators, because like I said, in all my years, not only in my own family, but in all my years, we brought people to, I brought people to the hospital with fentanyl. I'm not even sure, because they don't tell, the doctors don't confer with us. They confer with the family, and they say, you're staying here with them to guard them or you're not. But, I've seen people go on them and come out from like really, God only knows what they were taking. I do believe that the way you feel about the moon landing is how I feel about AIDS. Just as a side, I don't have any trust for it. I think that when you're in a position that they were in, when I say they, I mean the government. I don't necessarily trust them. As a matter of fact, I don't trust them. But I think that it's not good for either of the two factions of the capitalist parties that we have, for you to be pro something that kills a large part of your population. So I think that I think that they panicked and they tried, and that it's very true. It's also do you remember when everybody was talking about dirty bombs? Oh, especially after 9/11.
Yeah, of course.
What happens if there's a dirty bomb? The dirty bomb. And that's exactly what a dirty bomb is. A dirty bomb is a panic weapon. It would all, like a dirty bomb, depending on magnitude of it, really would only kill a very, like, when I say a small amount of people, anywhere between 20 to maybe 2,000 tops if it was in like Times Square. But the panic it would start with, can you imagine 9 million plus people trying to evacuate an area at one time?
Yeah.
So anyway,
especially if you set off 2 or 3 dirty bombs everywhere too, as well. It's look, we've had you on for a while, Kev. We're gonna, obviously, I know you.
Yep.
You're very kind, and we have a new phone system coming probably by next week. I got to go over the contract today, and we're gonna know if there are people in the queue, no people in the queue, and if there's no people in the queue, we'd probably hold on to you. But we don't know if there's people in the queue or not. So
I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I just said what I needed to.
Well, wait.
And
our co-host has something to say to you, by the way.
Well,
so don't leave
there's one other thing that maybe it got brought up before I hopped in, but they had a whole meeting. The Bill and Melinda Gates. There's a whole meeting at Johns Hopkins with the United States military, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and a whole bunch of other world leaders, called Event 201 that simulated the effects of what a global pandemic would look like. It took place in October of 2019. The video, I believe, is publicly available for everybody to watch and listen to.
If you can find them, they pulled that shit like a year later.
They pulled it. Well, I'm gonna try.
Yep.
I'll try to find it.
Try to find it, because it's hard to find.
Refloat, and people recorded it, put it back up, and then it gets taken down.
It's still there. It's still there. They have.
There's still also the lockstep document too, right? As well,
lockstep
Alex.
Documents. There's a lot. All of these things that we talk about. There are government documents that back up everything that is being talked about. So I don't even look at it like it's a conspiracy theory. It's just right there visibly in the documents. And it's a valid interpretation of the documents. But what they did in Event 201 was they were talking about how trust in experts and in established credible sources, quote unquote, is at an all-time low. And the end result of their pandemic is that there was a regaining of trust in the quote unquote medical experts. And so because trust in experts was at an all-time low already leading up to COVID with everything he was mentioning, the beginning of COVID basically was an excuse to silence, censor, deplatform anybody who questioned modern orthodoxies. And so the whole goal is to like centralize power and influence into a small group of people that promoted a narrative that catered to that small group of people.
It could be so much more too, as well. But Kev, we're gonna let you go. But you can give us the last 30 seconds too.
Well, I could buy that. I mean, I could put it for. I mean, you could put a couple of meetings to it. One of them is also. I remember there was an op-ed written in the New York Times in 2020 that because Trump had been. He's been an LLC, like he's had, he's just a small businessman with 100 LLCs. But I mean, he's come out in the past saying things like, there should be universal health care because otherwise the employer has to pay for it. And I don't want to. And maybe one of the reasons was to increase trust because they were afraid that was going to be his October surprise. Was that he was going to come out for universal health care. That's just off the top of my head, just another theory on that.
It seems like you're in a position where you're ready to listen to more, whatnot, but not. It's kind of funny because a lot of people though put it front and center. They think it's in the past, but I don't think it's been resolved. I think there's a lot to be talked about and what could happen next time. But we'll take our time on it. We'll go piece by piece, bit by bit. Thanks so much for calling in this morning, Kev. We love you. I appreciate it, brother.
You're welcome. Please, everybody support the show. All right. And peace, love, and hair grease. All right, guys. Take care.
You, brother. Thank you. Kevin from Rockaway. What the hell is that? Say some stuff real quick, trans-vaccinated person. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this video in a second about Fauci. really quickly. My mother's in there yelling. I can hear my mom in the morning.
Mom, the meatloaf, Ma.
We got another call coming in too.
Pasta, you clean your room. You were
All right.
supposed to take the garbage out, Pasta.
All right, no screaming. We got a call.
Let's go. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? Caller. Caller.
Oh, is that me?
That is
Yep,
you.
that's you.
You're talking to me? Oh, hi.
Who is
Yeah,
it?
make sure you listen on your phone or it'll be delayed.
Okay, I'm on my phone. I muted the computer. Is that good?
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
Okay. Well, I didn't get in at the beginning because I'm in California, so if you already discussed this, tell me. But it's my impression that...
Who is it, by the way? Hold on one second. Who is it, by the way, where you calling from?
Oh, my name is Jenny, and I'm in California.
Hi, Jenny.
In the Bay Area. And I'm an old COVID skeptic boomer, but it seems to me that a lot of my friends on the left, do you think that the reason people on the left bought into the COVID madness is because of this longing for a collective, like do the greater good collectivism, that they're just dying for a project where we can all feel like we pull together? I felt like that was sort of the mentality.
I'm going to answer that first, Alex, before you, because I'm a leftist, and you know.
All right. Hey, can you, wait, Pasta, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know if it was something that they were yearning for and whatnot. I first of all, I want to say this much. I think that the majority of the left didn't necessarily just go along with COVID protocols. I believe they highlighted those on the left to make it look like, they can put people in quarters. The radical left and try to lump everybody together. So I don't believe that the majority of leftists in this country were 100% bought into it. Let's wear a mask, even like in between bites at a restaurant, that kind of thing. I believe that like the media does what they always do, right? They highlight those voices that they want that keep us mostly in our team sports mentality and divided. So I would say that right off the bat. However, there was something, mentally when it came to this whole situation that, I think a lot of people felt like, a lot of leftists feel that they do stuff for the greater good for society, right? For the benefit of humanity, whatnot. And they look at a lot of conservatives as just a bunch of individual capitalists who want to enrich themselves. So, I mean, I think there was something to do with that, where a lot of people did buy into it without doing their enough research. And they did go along with it because they thought they were part of the team that was most compassionate to their neighbor. So yes, there is a reason. I don't know if they were just yearning for it. I think that, like I said, I think those numbers are highlighted, but there is something where the social engineers, the ones who to do things on this planet, you know what I'm saying, did use that whole kind of mentality to split people. Alex, you can jump in there and give us your thoughts on that real quick, because you're considered, you're muted, by the way. You're considered on the other side. So please give us your opinion on it.
All right, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Let me give you a second. Let me get to the default. All right. I think a lot of it too had to do with, there was such a visceral hatred of Donald Trump that whatever Donald Trump was saying, people were just going to do the opposite. And because Donald Trump had a different outwardly public stance on this virus, I think a lot of people on the political left doubled down and tripled down on a lot of the nonsense that came along with this whole COVID narrative. I also think that from an individual standpoint, I think from like an individual standpoint, that there was a group of people who felt very disenfranchised from society, felt like they hadn't really accomplished anything, felt as though there was no real purpose for there was no real purpose for them to go start a small business, have investments, and do things to like kind of level up their position in life. And so when these lockdowns hit, and nobody could work and everybody could stay inside, finally, you got a lot of people that felt like they were actually, being productive and doing the right thing. And they got a chance to feel a sense of self-worth and a sense of belonging by telling on your neighbor for going to the park or complaining about a bar not, properly social distancing and without bothering to, realize that hey, Walmart, Amazon, Target, and all the big tech companies are making record profits, but somehow you're fighting income inequality and capitalism or whatever it is that they were fighting. So I just think that there was a combination of of mental illness that came to the surface that promoted these nonsensical dictatorial measures, and people just generally feeling as though they haven't accomplished anything with no sense of self-worth. And well, when you feel that way, right, those are the types of people who find their worth in a social credit system. And COVID was a beta test for a social credit system.
Yeah. And Alex did go out to a lot of events and stuff where he kind of pranked a lot of people. One of his most famous videos is when he's acting like he's a woke guy wearing a mask and whatnot. And then,
but that's all the videos. Yeah. But I didn't really do a lot of that in 2020, 2021. I kind of really started doing it in 2022. Leading up to midterm elections. But I did wear a mask during COVID. I just had a Captain America mask on. It was a Captain America luchador mask.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, what are your thoughts? You said you're a COVID skeptic, and you're trying to still talk to people, right, that are holding on. After hearing the Fauci hearings, man, that song by Wilson Phillips, if you hold on for one more day, you son of a bitches are still holding on to this bullshit. And every single time.
Hold on, wait.
It's too early for Wilson Phillips.
Wait.
Sorry, it's too early for Wilson.
Let's back this up. How many people? Okay, hold on. At this point in time, though, are there actually a large cohort of people on the left that still support Dr. Fauci?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Hold on,
have you not seen what's going on? People called into my radio show going, why are you still picking on Dr. Fauci?
Well,
they still exist.
No, but it doesn't mean that they're supporting Dr. Fauci. It just means that they feel as though it could also mean that they would rather talk about something
else.
Alex,
there's still a large amount of people who felt that the everything went awry in COVID because they didn't do their part and get their shot. There's still a lot of people like that. They think that the main cause is that they didn't get people vaccinated. They still, right? They're still fighting for it at this point.
I don't think so, man. I think that's a very small minority that's just getting overly highlighted.
Getting highlighted. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that at this point, here's my view on this, right? I think at this point, people kind of realize that they were being lied to, or if you explain it in a way that's non-accusatory and you're not talking at them, you should be accountable for lying about the origins of a virus. And you should be, and it is a little bit weird when you're writing in your journal about how you're excited about all the press coverage you're getting while listing death tolls simultaneously in that same journal. And when you're telling people privately that the virus came from a lab and then publicly that it came from a bat, that's bad no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. There should be some accountability. If you didn't understand, if you hadn't realized that because it wasn't publicly available and you had a different opinion, that's okay. But now that this new information is available and it's being vetted by a whole bunch of quote unquote reputable sources that you listen to, then
okay, hold on. Let me jump in there. Yeah, let me jump in there because, and we're gonna let our caller jump in because the caller did call. Jenny from the block is on the phone, guys, and I have a video over here, and I said this before, where it's Fauci saying don't wear a mask, and then was do wear a mask. So I don't know if this new piece of information, because I don't believe people are searching for the truth. I still believe a lot of people, at least the ones that are highlighted, Alex, they're searching for their confirmation bias, right?
Yeah, but I think that no matter what, I like to be a glass half full.
I want to get back to our caller though, so be quick.
Sure, no, I'm very quick. It's like when I do sex, but okay. Look, I think that I like to call myself I'm like to call myself like a bit of a doomer optimist, and my whole view is that no matter what happens to Dr. Fauci, for the rest of his life, he effectively built a golden prison for himself anyway. Right? The guy cannot go out. No, it's true. The guy cannot go out in public without getting heckled, harassed, or have somebody constantly talk shit to him. He's going to need a private security detail, a massive private security detail around him.
Obviously,
day,
you haven't been invited to
rest.
Parties in the Hamptons, bro. He's going to be just fine over there, bro. Fauci's not going to have. That was just a humiliation ritual. We live in the United States.
No.
I don't know. That's being optimistic.
Sure, you go to a few parties in the Hamptons, and that's fine. But like at the end of the day, even if you go to those parties, how many people at the party are really gonna like want to see you? How many of those parties have you actually been to? Not a lot. Like they're not that fun. Honestly.
I know.
No, but it is a big deal. Like to think about that. Right?
But we want to get to our caller. While our caller's here,
sure,
let's hear her concerns.
Okay.
Let's hear her concerns. We'll have all this time to talk about this, Alex. But I want to hear her concerns so we can address it. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, Jenny.
Well, I don't think the libs, as we call them, are going to turn on Fauci. I live in the Bay Area. There's still, when I go to the supermarket, there's still like one or two people with masks. I have a neighbor in my apartment.
Not everybody. It's still one or two.
Let her talk though. Go ahead.
Yes. And so I didn't watch the Fauci hearings because I wouldn't subject myself to that. But I did. There's a doctor over here in San Francisco called Vinay Prasad who does these wonderful rants on the YouTube, and he's I think he's a left politically, but he's much more. He's very conservative medically. Like he doesn't believe anything that hasn't been subjected to a major double-blind test could possibly work. So I'm more of a what do you call it, integrative medicine person, but he has he's very solid views on COVID, and he did a great little compilation of everything that's wrong with Fauci last week. I highly recommend it. But yeah, that's all I have to say is that I think I worry that COVID gave people the impression that the left wing, that socialism makes people more susceptible when government goes bad. Because if your government does good things for you, then you trust them, and then if they go bad, then you're gonna get a shot.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation we have to have. I mean, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't want a government that does good things for you.
Yeah.
Just because then you might trust them. So yeah, I got to go argue with my brother about this.
Go argue with him, but argue nicely. Try to convince him. Try to have conversations. I think this is there's still an open door policy right now, and for people, I think they want to talk more about this. Jenny, thank you for calling in from California.
Wait, Jenny, I
know you can address her, but we're gonna let her hang up, and you can address her just in case there's somebody else in the queue. Just put your volume back up on your computer once you hang up, Jenny. And thank you so much for calling on in. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You got it. Bye.
No, I was gonna say maybe don't talk to your brother about it because one of the things that Dr. Fauci did with his rhetoric was that a countless number of families have drifted apart from each other and are irrecoverably separated because of this virus and their views on the virus. And so at this point, like if you're trying to argue with your brother about something or whatever it is, like all it's doing, if you're not doing it in a way that's like, fun and non-judgmental and non-accusatory, all you're doing is steepening that rift that Fauci's rhetoric has caused so many other people.
So what do you do then?
You ready for another call?
We're going to have another caller, but how do you address it? Hold on to that thought, Alex, because we'll have more time.
Hey.
Alex says, hey, what's going on? Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
It's the other Alex from
Alex.
Albuquerque.
Hey.
Lady Alex.
Nurse Alex. Hey, I just want to say this is great, taking calls. Nobody else does that like you, and it's just a wonderful forum for communication.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And I want to do a different thing because I think, the whole thing with the quote-unquote vax, I mean, we can go round and round with that. But, a lot of people that are frustrated like me are talking about people waking up and realizing the truth, talking about propaganda educating others. Well, first of all, it's not my responsibility to wake people up, and it can't be done. All I can do is present people with information, and they take the ball and go with it. And this whole thing of people are now realizing things and understanding things more. I don't agree with that. I think most people in this culture are reactionary. Mm-hmm. They're struggling. There's a lot going on. And I think because of that struggle, they're reacting. They're angry. They're frustrated. They're upset. But I still think that not enough people are focusing on what is causing them to struggle and to, and the repercussions of that. So I really don't think that, because just from talking to people and, being in, listening to the conversations, I don't think it's a true awareness that's going on. I think it's a reaction because of their circumstances. That's what, as far as people being, aware and getting more understanding of what's going on in the world and in their government, and, and the whole issue of propaganda. I think that we're leaving people, not giving them the responsibility of their own thoughts and actions. I don't think that people are brainwashed necessarily or propagandized, as we're saying all the time. I think that, we really have to, people are responsible for their own thoughts and actions again. So, I have never fell prey to the bullshit.
Yeah.
So other people can also not fall prey to the bullshit. Yeah. So,
let me jump in, Lady Alex.
This is too easy and lazy to say that.
Yeah. I knew you were getting to that, and I'm sorry for jumping in, but I really think it's important right here, because this is an important part of the conversation, because we hear people kind of talk often what you're talking about as far as, well, why I didn't fall for the bullshit. Why couldn't these people not see what I saw and not fall for the bullshit, right? Everybody has different lives, different experiences, whatnot. Now, I remember some of the views I used to hold, how different it is for me, but I was once at a point. This is something that Dr. Cornel West and I kind of agreed on when I had a conversation with him a long time ago. He's like, he was very forgiving of people who thought differently than him, that held positions against him. Especially, it's kind of interesting because the one thing that he was really accepting of is after the first Bernie Sanders run in 2016, they formed this committee. The thing he tackled hard was trying to get a lot of Democratic Party members to recognize Israel as an apartheid state, right? He would argue that position. But then after, he'd go and talk to those people, go have lunch, dinner with them, and he would say, well, these people are at a position one time right now, but they could be different down the road. We all have that ability. And I get it, Lady Alex, where you say, it's not my responsibility to convince people. I guess I have a different mindset. I think it is my responsibility to talk about those things. The quote that Jackie Robinson made years ago, a life is insignificant unless it has impact on others. And I'm trying to make an impact from what I've seen, what I've been taught, what I've learned, what I think is the best way forward. But I get it. Even though you don't feel it's a responsibility, you sometimes can make an impact when you hang with like-minded people, like the community of this show that we're building right now, and people can hear you and then get convinced. And you've been in a position so many times before with your nursing to affect people and maybe change their thoughts in a more positive way, in a positive light. Don't you see, like, what's the word I'm looking at? The reward, reaping the benefits of that? Because you do say, hey, it's not my responsibility to convince people, because there is that saying, right? It's easier to tell somebody a lie than convince them they've been lied to, right? That whole stupid saying. Don't you still see the benefit of what you've done, how you've affected people, how you say you don't want to do it, but you are doing it in some ways, no?
Well, let me get, okay, maybe, I didn't, when I say not my responsibility, let me just back up. Let's see, I'm 67, grew up in the 70s, went through all those things. I've had, I don't do anymore what I used to, spend so much time not arguing, but trying to convince not only theists that there's no God, that's another thing, but also trying to impart my feelings about humanity to those that don't share my core values about things in the world. It's exhausting, and I did that for years and years and years. And, all I can do is say that you could present people and direct people to information. It's out there. Anybody can go online or do any research for 5 minutes and get information and change, and change their perspective. It's there. So I feel when I say not my responsibility, it's not up to me to, or I don't feel like I can, present people with information, argue with them for half an hour, and then they're going to see the light. It doesn't happen. I've tried that. It doesn't mean that I don't feel like it's important for me to discuss things with others and present them with information. I can do that. But after decades of this and having these same discussions, I've come to the realization that, that's all that can be done is presenting those with information and being there for those that want to come and connect with me and ask more questions. That's all I can do. And I continue to do that. Now, as far as, people, on this grand theme of waking up finally and realizing what's going on in this country, I don't feel that. Again, people react. They're upset. But they're still directing their ire to the wrong people. People are still xenophobic and still ignorant. And I still think that when these new so-called vaxes and other things are going to become popping up, that the majority of people is still going to accept it. I don't think that the populace has come to a realization that we are all talking about. And case in point, the whole Mamdani thing and El Said thing, it all connects with each other. All of a sudden, these people are wonderful. Aren't they saying great things? I'm part of the Jewish Voice for Peace in my local chapter. And even they are saying, oh, what do you think of this incredible El Said and Mamdani? This is fantastic. Even those in these groups that I connect with and others that share a lot of how I feel are still caught up in the Trump derangement syndrome. Isn't this Mamdani and El Said fantastic? Tides are turning. Even this weekend, I went to one of my JVP, like they had a peace choir and we were tabling, and somebody actually complained that I was being too, quote unquote, negative because I was sharing my feelings about, like I'm doing with you now. And they complained about me because I wasn't being more positive. So even within these groups of so-called, people that are doing the work, quote unquote, are still, so it's really frustrating.
I got you. Let's let our co-host jump on in there because he's got some things to say too as well. Because I know he's out there trying to, when it came to the COVID, a lot of the conversations, we were just trying to bring the truth to the table and trying to get people to, at least that's what I was doing. Like, look what they're doing. We'll see what's going on. And I know the frustration, by the way, when they say, you got to be positive, you can't be so negative. That's like CIA talk to allow the devil, to allow the vampire to come in the house. Remember when you invite the vampire in, you can't use garlic and holy water against them because now your defenses are powerless because you invited him in the door. Well, that's the thing. They want you to get him to invite these guys to get into the door. Alex, go ahead. Your thoughts on what Lady Alex was saying.
I think you could still be positive without inviting monsters into your house, right? Like those aren't really separate from each other. I do think though that when it comes to waking up, it's not like I think people think that everyone's waking up because you're just replacing one source of credible information with another. That's not necessarily waking up. That could just be a coordinated psychological operation to shift narratives. Truly waking up is the ability to just think for yourself, no matter who's telling you what, and being universally skeptic of everything and not falling into a tribe. That's what I think truly waking up is. I want to add though about the whole Fauci thing, and it's that while I think it's pretty obvious to everybody on the show and most people, I think in general, that Fauci belongs in prison and there needs to be accountability for what he did during this virus. If he were to go to prison and actually face accountability right now with where we are, while we're on the verge of an actual national security state with flock cameras and way more invasive technology coming down the line, and midterm elections where Republicans are going to pretend that they care about freedom and liberty and then vote for flock cameras or vote to make weed illegal. And now, now a pedophile gets less time than somebody smoking a joint in Texas. Maybe the timing for why this is happening should be a cause of skepticism. And so maybe like if Fauci does get prosecuted and actually does do jail time and this actually does start moving right now at a fast rate from now through November, I'd almost be more concerned considering our track record than if this just becomes another bit of performative theater.
I think that if you are going to hold Fauci accountable, and once again, I think there are, people, it goes beyond Fauci. They want to make people, it looks sometimes like Fauci is this one isolated character who has so many things to say. The same thing they try to do to Bibi Netanyahu, as if Bibi's making all the decisions for what's going on.
Actually,
and that's, it's ridiculous,
so I'm not
right?
I'm not an expert on the subject, but it's actually the coalition of people like within his cabinet are a lot more a hard line and right wing than he is, and you have
absolutely. So there, but with that being said, like if we're going to go for accountability, I think that Donald Trump was signed to 2 pieces of paperwork that you can really just hold on. All right, we know he signed the CARES Act, and that was the greatest transfer of wealth up to the billionaires, but not, he wanted that Operation Warp Speed to go through because he wanted to get elected on that, so he pushed behind that too as well. But the executive order he signed in September 2019, which opened the door for the task force for the military to join together with governmental entities to push the vaccine through, to make sure that they had an avenue to put all these protocols into place. Donald Trump signed that executive order. I mean, that laid the groundwork for what to happen.
He gave Fauci an award at the end of 2020 for everything that he did. And then when Ron DeSantis primaried him and you pointed all this stuff out, all of a sudden you got ganged up on and dogpiled by a bunch of these MAGA influencers. And so in the Libertarian
Convention, RFK was printing Fauci Trump shirts to go after Donald Trump before the Maha movement. Like he was literally selling Trump Fauci shirts, and his whole thing was Donald Trump, and he's kissing Fauci's butt. But listen, really quickly, Alex, and I know you got something to say. Hold your thought. Yeah. Let's Lady Alex have the last 30 seconds because we might have another caller in the queue because people are telling me they're trying to call in. Lady Alex, your final thoughts. And even though I don't know if you do feel like you're making some leeway, what's the word? Some progress.
All right,
I think
well,
you
my
are.
Experience in low, all these decades of having these same discussions, and all these things, different issues, but the same stuff over and over again. Most people are, I've had maybe 3 or 4 times in my life where people said, you know what, you've changed me. I now see this and that, and thank you for being, I've had very few times where I've gotten feedback where people said I had an effect on them.
That doesn't mean you haven't made an effect, lady. That doesn't mean you haven't made an effect, though, right, Lady Alex? And I don't mean to jump on your words because you're like very few. That doesn't mean that you haven't. Some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. There's a country song out there. Sometimes you don't know the effect you've made, and you do make a bigger effect than you think.
But I'm a realist, and so I do things because I am who I am. I do things because I don't know what else to do. And so I've always tried to, as younger, I was idealistic and thought I could change the world. And as things kept going, decade after decade, I realized that, that idealism and hope and change is just for, not realistic. And so now I'm just being me because that's who I am. And all I can do is just connect with others, like-minded people, and do what I think is right and help others when I can. And that's okay. I do still get my blood boils when I see them, Project Jupiter, the mega data center. They're advertising on my local TV station now for Project Jupiter in New Mexico, this mega data center. They're having the native people, native actors doing like how wonderful this is going to be and jobs are going to come in. and all this. So that's enraging me. But it's, the same rage that I've been feeling since I was 12 in the 70s, with the war in Vietnam and on and on. But there's nothing,
Hold on.
And so in here, and just the last word, this whole thing of being in the local Jewish Voice for Peace group here to sort of be connected and to talk to others about what's going on in the Middle East, and somebody actually complaining to another JVP member that I was being negative because I was expressing my feelings about like what I do here with you guys. And I told the other person, well, let that person that has something to say about me come to me and talk to me about it, because this is bullshit, So the same crap is going on in so-called groups that are trying to make a difference. So there's all kinds of bullshit still going on between people. And it's, so that's basically it. It's just more frustration and rage and sadness about everything. But I keep on going, and thank you for having this venue, Pasta. That's fantastic. And Sleepy Josh.
Hold on, I want to ask what the data center though. Isn't New Mexico like a very Democrat supermajority state? And it feels as though a lot of these data centers, not to be politicized, but it feels like a lot of these data centers are being built in red areas. Are these big data centers actually going to pass? And do you think it's actually going to materialize?
New Mexico is a huge state with a small population, so there's a lot of space here, and I don't think in terms of red and blue, that's not a real.
No, I don't either. But I'm saying, I don't either. But I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just think that generally speaking, with how politicized and tribal the country has gotten, it feels as though red states are going to be the ones that embrace the data centers a lot more than the blue states will.
That's not true.
Think so. I think
the water.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. This is a positive thing, though. This is a positive thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you or step on your voice, Lady Alex, but there are areas and whatnot, the flock cameras and the data centers. The flock cameras are getting pushed back on from the left because they're using it to track immigrants, and that's where the first prime they put them into. The software from Graphite in Minnesota, and then Peter Thiel and Palantir going along with these data centers to put these flock cameras up. So the left is rejecting them just as much as the right. Same thing with data centers. Now they're rejecting them for different reasons. I think the conservative movement, they're rejecting it because the security state's getting out of hand, and they're like, enough is enough. But the left is rejecting it because of the water.
Thing, the whites, the shit lib whites, and I hate making labels on people, but you know what I mean. Some of them are now getting upset because it's in their backyard, So there is a white
NIMBYism.
person
NIMBYism,
reaction.
Carlin.
Finally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not in my neighborhood. Let's let Lady Alex go. Thank you for calling, Lady.
Bye, everybody.
And make sure that you stay a regular on the show. And the thing is, you are making a difference, even though you don't feel and see the impact or hear about as much. Trust me, Lady Alex, you are. Thank you for being a regular caller on this show.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Stranger.
Yeah.
I'm going to play this video right now because I've been talking about, oh, my Lord, there's more holes in the COVID narrative than there is in the moon landing. This is Dr. Fauci talking about you should wear masks. Take a look. You're watching Drive Time. If you want to call in, the number is 561-247-2721. It's 561-247-2721. I'm here.
We've already got one.
Jay and Alex Stranger. And, we're going to wait on the phone call on the video, and we're going to take the phone call. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello, it's Wesley.
Wesley, how you doing?
Pretty good.
What do you got for us?
So there's more. The Fauci thing is obviously an ongoing cover-up narrative scenario. But if you really want to expand your understanding of COVID story, you have to look into the mRNA pesticide that was sprayed in parts of Central and South America that ended up causing infant encephalitis. And then they blamed that on Zika because when they first were putting pesticide in the water for the malaria for the mosquitoes, it was they're like talking about how it's an mRNA pesticide, and it was going to stop the mosquitoes' brains from developing, and everyone got, infant encephalitis and things of that nature, which is probably due to a ragweed gene that they put into their mRNA recipe, and then they blamed that on Zika, but Zika never caused that infant encephalitis before that, and apparently it doesn't cause it now. Zika has changed what it's doing. So when the story changes, the narrative.
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about the mRNA, right? And that's something even more micro in the macro, but the macro is for years. And this is why I think the black community was the most hesitant in the United States was black men to take that shot, because the CDC years ago did testing in Tuskegee on black men and gave them syphilis and other diseases and whatnot just to see what's going on. But in Latin America, if you look at the history in Africa, these pharmaceutical companies have used, people in different nations, third world countries, as radblats, and they've gotten away with it. The stories from Johnson & Johnson alone, what they did in Latin America and what they did in Africa testing drugs, I mean, it's scary. It's mind-blowing. And the thing that's so crazy, Wesley, and by the way, where are you calling from again?
Florida.
We got to have a Florida meetup. We were talking about a Florida meetup. The history of the pharmaceutical companies were known from the people who supported Fauci and the COVID protocols the most. That they were their number. In other words, the majority of progressives and people on the left, their number one issue was Medicare for all. They understood who the enemy was. But when the COVID came out, all of a sudden, the pharmaceutical companies were benevolent and we should listen to them. It's one of the things I scratch my head the most on, Wesley.
Well, they were giving out that, I forget the name of the guy or the award. It was a medical award that they were giving out named after this guy. But the same guy that was doing the mustard gas tests on soldiers in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and Louisiana, where they would have these field tests and they'd drop mustard gas on people, trying to see if they could tweak it to kill certain races. So that was World War II, and they haven't stopped. That whole program, it's the same people in power, getting money, getting paid the whole way down to the point where they're, here, have an award in my name. And everything that has a name on it, that's an award, you're looking at something nasty. There is a cover story of a cover story. Everything's a cover story. That's it. But they've shown their hand as to how they do the cover story. So now you can look back over history and be like, aha, I see how this connects to that. And they're not doing that.
How about Jon Stewart giving the Nazi a medal in Disneyland as he has the Nazi tattoo band-aided up so you can't see it? I mean, I still think that takes the cake. Sorry to interrupt, Wesley. Go ahead.
That's a classic one. Well, often cited, but there's so many that are. It's the ones that people don't pick up on that you're like. And I was there. I knew it was hogwash when they were talking about the Zika thing was a cover story for the mRNA thing they had just done in South America, and that's probably why Monsanto had to get sold to Bayer in Germany or whatever, which is funny because you could look at the Aldolus was working at Bayer between World War I and World War II with Isaac Asimov in their labs. So this whole thing is an ongoing thing where they've been doing chemical warfare forever on the population. And there's even in the movie The Silk Express, I think it is, where the guy is talking about the relationship between the Rockefeller medicine and the other place in Germany or whatever, where they so it go if you start looking into the dirty medical stuff and it all connects. Once you start to figure out that even the Black Plague wasn't spread by fleas. It was a fungus. It was a fungus outbreak that totally, came over with the Huns brought it in with their horses and their, cattle, and also and it was basically a fungus that traveled, and then it got into a better climate and exploded. And then there was a short dark period, the Dark Ages, and that made a wonderful breeding scenario for this fungus that had been recently introduced to the lowlands to then blow up and take out huge populations. But it was like that.
That's not the history we're told, right? That's not the story that's given to us. Sorry, go ahead, Alex. Do you want to say something?
No, I was just listening. Honestly, this is one of the rare moments where I don't have anything to interrupt about. So I'm just
well,
listening.
I mean, they've been lying about outbreaks and diseases and viruses and for so long.
It's been going on forever, right? Like viruses are serve two functions. They are great at controlling the population. They're served to control the population's movements and whereabouts and whatnot. But what they also do is they are the best tool in the world for restructuring a governing system and putting in a quote unquote new world order where a new cohort of people are in charge. Viruses have historically always done that. They've always been like a catalyst for fourth turning type style events. So, if we're due for something along the lines of a fourth turning style event, then a virus would be one of those things. I think they tried to do that during COVID. It didn't quite work. But there are going to be other things that there are other things that are going to be used. They're going to be, cyber attacks, cyber failures, AI hacking into data. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to create this. And whether COVID works or not, I just feel as though that these guys have pivoted on to the next thing, and we should be thinking about what the next thing is and how to protect ourselves preemptively from the next thing. Or not even protect yourself, right? Like a lot of these fourth turning style events also provide opportunities for regular people like you and me to improve our positions in life substantially if you have the right preparation intact. So, both protect yourselves and also figure out how this next fourth turning event is going to help you level up in life, which sadly, that's how it works.
Wesley.
Yeah.
Would you have something to say, or because I was going to make a comment, but if you have something to say, I want
also math, which is interesting, but a lot of people didn't go down the I've done construction and a lot of painting, and there's things like the mRNA mask or the N95 mask. Yeah. If you had immigrants working for you legally and they were using N95 masks while scraping paint, they could close down your paint company because they don't have proper PPE for lead abatement, right? So there's a whole, even if you just are regular into painting, painters knew, they have different levels. They have your pinks for lead, and you have your vapor level masks and all this other stuff. And so then they also put Jared in charge of it. So anyway, so that basically, he is then responsible. The feds were then, the head of the emergency response becomes responsible legally for any death of anyone who is put into a medical scenario that is reported up the chain as being, so any doctor or whoever was only wearing an N95 mask and exposing themselves to this virus and then caught the virus and died, that was Jared's fault. It's totally, that's what legally says in the, what is it? Now I'm dropping it. I'm thinking OPEC, but that's not it. What's the OSHA and the OSHA law?
Oh, and yeah, the OSHA. I remember that. I remember the OSHA law. I remember. It's funny that another thing you bring up.
So the OSHA part 19 of that thing is very illuminating as to masks and PPE and all that stuff. So
they were trying to use any type of body to control and implement laws. I remember the whole OSHA when OSHA came into play. But there's something I want to point out really quickly, and thank you so much for calling in, Wesley from Florida. And I do appreciate you being part of the show. It's so awesome to call us. I was just saying the other day, and we're talking to my team, how in the first 2 weeks I would plant callers. Hey, can you call in? Can you do this? Now I don't do this. I sit back and you guys just provide the content for the show, which is also important because it's all about having discussions and getting to where we're at. Something I want to point out, Wesley, too, as well, and kind of Alex talked about it as well, as far as what these things are used for. Like viruses or plagues have been historically used not only to, maybe implement a financial grab from big pharma, but to rearrange, rules and laws within societies, right? To give yourself more power. But whether it was the COVID was used for that, and a lot of people talk about, it's funny, October 7th, right? They say that, they knew Gaza, that the Palestinians were going to hit Gaza, or they paid for it, they made it happen. Whatever the case may be, if it happened naturally, if it didn't happen naturally, if it was an inside job or it was a lab leak that got out, it doesn't make a difference at this point. I think we have to understand that in every single situation and every single disaster, crisis, whether it be virus, natural disaster, whatever, there's going to be an entity that's going to try to take advantage of the situation no matter what. A small group of people who are going to try to enrich themselves, give themselves more power. So whether it was naturally it happened or it was planned if it happened, that same mechanism is going to come through, and we have to look at what they're trying to do, how they're trying to manipulate the situation. And Wesley, we'll give you the last 30 seconds just in case we do have one caller on hold. But go ahead, and then we'll let Alex jump on in.
Okay, here's the deal. If you want to see what happened with the beginning of COVID and like all the same players and so there was the Alpha meeting, which is a club that changes its name all the time, but they're a bunch of Maltese, royal bloodline people that, anyways, they had the party at Jeff Bezos's house at his DC mansion, and Jared Kushner and Ivanka were there. The day after the meeting that Trump and that Bill Barr they were trying to say that there's all this insider trading from people that were at this meeting and trying to blame a couple of the Democrats that were at that meeting for the COVID. This was January 24th, I believe the meeting was, and the party was on like the 25th or 6th. And so there was this confidential meeting in January 2020 as to what to do about the COVID thing. And so then Trump downplays the whole thing. But all the people that were at that party, Bezos, Gates, Omni, they were all downplaying, they were all changing their portfolios around immediately. The next 7 days, Bezos liquidated $3.4 billion worth of Amazon stock because he knew they all knew the infrastructure and the economy was going to take a big dip. And so they all shorted the economy. And there was a whole bunch of hedge fund managers from BlackRock and stuff there. And a bunch of CEOs and corporate heads resigned so that they could liquidate their portfolios. And so then all those people went from having $7 billion to $70 billion in less than like 9 months or 10 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody else who had a like the police and the fire department and everyone who had a retirement hedge fund or what, and had a retirement fund or whatever, they all lost like 10% of their money by the same people. And the thing is, if you look at the owners of BlackRock, the people that actually own stock in that corporate, in these different hedge funds, they are served by their underlings who work there. And so they were unloading their toxic shares into the police department's retirement fund and things like that. It was a full-on crime, and no one is looking at it.
Well, we're looking at it over here on this show. We see it and whatnot, and we're going to let you go, Wesley, because we do have some callers on hold. Hold on a second, Alex. Alex, let me just get rid of Wesley, and I'll let you answer him real quickly. I'll let you get to
this is to elaborate on this question, though.
You can. But Wesley, hold on. Wesley, we're going to let you go. Alex is going to answer your call, and then we're going to take another call. But thank you for calling in, Wesley. I do appreciate it. Okay, my man?
All right.
He's going to answer your question. Okay. All right, go ahead.
This is also kind of elaborates on why Trump needed to sign the CARES Act, because before that, the market was tanking. And if the police retirement funds and teacher retirement funds, so to speak, are being affected by this, that can't happen. And so by juicing up a bunch of money into the economy, you jack the stock market back up, even though it's nominal, even though while it's worth the same nominally, in real terms, it's worth a lot less. So that is a huge component as to why Trump kind of had to sign that, because if he didn't sign that, and the retirement of police and firefighters, teachers, and all these other people become adversely affected where they cannot retire, you know what you get? You get actual revolutions. And you don't want a revolution to occur while you're the one in power.
Yeah. He also, just let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, there were so many people who were such a good boy or such a good girl during COVID. They got their reward. Jacinta, the leader of New Zealand, and she's now got a cakey job over here in the United States. Hey, Xavier Becerra, who was the HHS secretary under Joe Biden, which pretty much walked on into the CARES Act being signed and got to decide how all that money got doled out. Well, he's now going to be your governor of California for being a good boy. We got one more call in. Thank you, Wesley. Sorry if I heard you off the phone. I didn't mean to do that, but I do want to get to a lot of these callers, and the phone lines have been jammed today. Caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
Snark in Iowa.
Snarky!
The farts. So at first they thought it was a respiratory virus and we didn't have to worry about farts. And immediately when the fart controversy started, media denial. But they have found, and at first I wanted to look it up and see where I could find some things. Forbes and some other magazines reported it. So when you had upset stomach and stuff along with it, it could get down into your gut. You have a bubbly gut. In there, the Forbes magazine talks about 24 parts a day of 12.4 liters containing aerosolized particulate matter, and that would have some COVID in it. Well, if we have a particle or something aerosolized, it's no longer just going to be helpful with your mask, because where's the other thing on your face that can attract virus real easy? Your eyes. Nobody ever told us to wear goggles.
There was discussions about that.
What happens if
moisturize? Yeah, there was discussions about that for those who were paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happens if a fart hits your face? Right into the eyes, right into the stream, and it's connected right into your respiratory system. It's your nose and eyes are connected, and you get that in there. And so realistically, we should have had goggles on. We should have had diapers on. If we even wanted to consider the mask legitimate. But I don't remember anybody seeing that. And I just wanted to get that in on there. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Snorky, thank you so much for calling on in, brother. We appreciate it. And I do wonder why people didn't talk much about that, but there were some of us who were paying attention that were saying that if you want this, the masks aren't going to do anything. You're going to have to wear goggles because it's going to get into the moisturizers of your eyes, and then you're getting it. So that is something very interesting that wasn't talked about enough, but I'm glad we brought it to the show today. Thank you, Snork, for calling in. And thank you for the super chat. It says, okay, I will call on COVID FARs and goggles. Is that the only FARs you got? Was that one, or you got another one?
I think it was supposed to be farts.
Farts?
Yeah, because like the.
I thought he was using the word FARs as like, fake.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's
All
like,
right, we got one more call that's popping in.
We're peeling through the callers today. This is amazing. Like, Alex, I don't know what it is, but man, you attract them a couple weeks ago. Your show on Rumble has 2.2 thousand views on it. One of my, maybe I should have you on more often over here.
Maybe change the timeline, and then we got a deal.
We're not changing the time because you want to sleep on in, you lazy ass. Get up early and shut up about it. Be quiet. Shut up. You're a businessman now. You're making money. You're doing moves. Get up early and quit. You're crying. Go to sleep sooner. You hear this shit?
Hey, he said infant, man. I've been there. I get it.
I know. I mean, you should have had kids at a younger age. Sorry, pal. Not sorry. And we were talking about you before in the beginning of the show. We mentioned you. We're going to take the caller right now, but there's a lot of love that I shared with Alex Strenger despite his beliefs. Because people are like, how could you talk to me, Zionist? I'm like, I don't care. He loves me. I love him. And I believe if Alex didn't believe in the hospira and he believed what I believe was really going on, he'd be pushing against it eventually. So maybe he'll do that one day. We'll see. But I'm holding my breath. Let's get to the caller. I love you.
Love you, buddy.
Caller, who are you? Where you calling from?
Hi, I'm Abby Dew. I'm calling from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Did you say Abigail?
Abby Dew. Abby Dew.
Abby June, I think.
Abby June?
Abby Dew.
Oh,
yeah,
Abby Dew.
My father called me Abby Dew.
Aw. From
Bless
Louisiana.
his heart. And may he rest in power.
Rest in power. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was kind of hard to hear you guys while I was waiting because the music was louder than I could hear you talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lost at this point. But I did call in to give y'all like some information. In St. Louis, like after the Cold War. So this project was built specifically for white residents, but then the civil rights movement happened, and so they had to allow black residents in the project. So all the white residents moved out. So it just became a project for black residents. The state defunded everything that they were trying to fund for this residency because it was black people, and United States is anti-black. Let's be honest. But what happened was they used this place as a site for spraying. Let me see what they sprayed. Oh, carcinogens into the air from the top of the roof, and they drove by blowing it. So it was so they could see what would happen if biological weapons attacked the United States. And not too many people know that, so I just wanted to give you all that information. It was called Pruitt Ego. So PRUITT-IGOE. A housing complex in St. Louis.
I'm going to look into that a little bit more too. And I've heard stories of that. And don't get me wrong, Abadu. I talked about in the show the way the CDC used black men as lab rats to test the syphilis and whatnot. They literally injected.
Syphilis, yeah.
I mean, this doesn't surprise me.
And they use black women like when I lived in New York City, there was a statue of this doctor. They made it seem like he was infamous. This man was testing on black women with no anesthesia for like what was he doing? C-sections and stuff. I forget his name. I could Google it real quick if you allow me to.
Yes, but we are coming to the top of the hour. We got like 2 minutes left of the show.
That's fine.
You know what we got to do, Abadu? Since you're listening to us now too as well, because this is a conversation we need to have in the beginning of the show so we can talk about this. Because I was talking with somebody yesterday, and I was talking about Alex, my friend, and whatnot. And I was talking about some of the friends I lost, and I said to them in our conversation, I said, I'm sorry, black people in this country still have it way worse than any Jewish person does. Like, I don't want to hear this whole, when you believe you're a victim, you allow anything to take place. And I think a lot of that, it happens to go with the rhetoric and the things that me and Alex will disagree upon. But I still think when you look at the numbers,
I don't think I'm a victim, and I don't think I'm a victim.
No, not you. You don't say it. You don't. But there are Jewish people out there who still say they justify what's going on because they're saying they're the victim. Go ahead, Abadu.
I mean, or you just don't believe the narrative that's
show.
being taken place in that country too. Okay, sorry.
Right.
Continue.
Sorry. Go ahead, Abadu.
Oh, sorry. I can't hear him that well. I can hear you very clearly, but I can't.
Oh,
He
sorry.
sounds like
Is that better?
air in the background or something.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I was
But
too far
Pasta,
from my mic.
I found you from the Jimmy Dore show.
Ah.
You're a libertarian, right?
Not really. I could call myself a leftist libertarian. I've never been in the Libertarian Party. I don't agree with them economic-wise because I'm a collectivist, right? And they call me a socialist because of that. I believe that we're one species in one planet. We can work together to get things for better of society. However, that's kind of like, there's areas that I've never been part of the Libertarian Party. I do, however, believe that libertarian values when it comes to civil liberties are very important, especially for everybody in the 99%, whether they be Black, Puerto Rican, Spanish, or Chinese. If we take our voices away, we have nothing. So I do call myself a leftist libertarian, but I do believe I have socialist values, and I love markets. So there's a bits of capitalism I love too. So I'm all over the place, really, to tell you the truth.
You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place, Abadu.
Okay.
So
I'm definitely a socialist.
Yeah.
But
no, I hear you. I hear you.
Talking to you, and I'm gonna try to DM you or something.
Please do. DM me.
I'd love to
you
talk
can
to you
email
again.
me. You can email me. You can DM me. We'll find a way. But I want you to come back and watch the show. If you found me on Jimmy, you can find me here every day, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and call in early because I love having discussions about race in the United States. It's very, very important. Because I think that race is often weaponized by the left. You know what I'm saying? However, there are some truths that I think that some of the populist right doesn't see.
Just by the left and the right.
Oh, it's definitely both.
It's definitely both. But the way it's been weaponized by the left right now, that's our camp, right? We're socialists of sorts. We come from that area, so
I think the left is more effective at weaponizing it than the right does, because when the left weaponizes it, it gets broad mainstream support. When the right weaponizes it, it's a bunch of autistic spurgs on the internet who never leave their basement.
I mean, that's fair.
Abadu, thank you so much. We love you. Keep calling in, keep listening, okay?
I love you too.
Love you, girl.
Bye.
Love you. And I love all of you out there who joined in today. Alex, I love you.
I love you,
right? I do. And because I was talking about two friends that I've lost that were really close to me. And I lost them after I had Norm Finkelstein on Jimmy Dore's show when I was hosting his show. And it's so different. Like, so I can talk to you. We can disagree and still love each other.
What's crazy is that you lost a friend over who you had as a guest on your show. Like, you didn't really lose a friend. Those were never your friends to begin with. Like, what kind of a shitty friend do you have to be to not want to talk to them because of a guest that you had on a show that you're doing to, A, get the truth out, if you're operating in good faith, which I think you are, even if we disagree on a lot of stuff, or B, just because it's your business model. It's how you make a living, feed your kids, do et cetera, and you're going to get mad at somebody for having a guest on your show when you're just have to entertain all possibilities. Like, there were a lot of right-wingers that were having Andrew Tate on, Yeah. And I called it out. I think it's kind of ridiculous, and it loses credibility when you have those people on as reputable guests, and it shows that all you care about are clicks and views versus getting the truth out. But it's not going to stop me from being your friend if I'm actually your friend. It might stop me from like recommending your show or wanting to have like as tight of a professional relationship. But I'm like, to not want to be somebody's friends because of a guest they had on their show, like barring Adolf Hitler or like an actual neo-Nazi or pedophile where you're like letting them defend their beliefs, like there's no reason for that. That's insane.
Yeah, I got to wrap up the show. I'm getting texts. I got a bunch of mom stuff to do and everything. And
mom stuff.
But listen, dude, thanks for joining in.
Yeah, bro,
we're gonna hold your space next Monday as
Okay.
well.
I got you, but dude, that is insane. To like lose a friendship over that is crazy. And if you're like not wanting to be friends with somebody because of a political viewpoint, then you've just been psyoped also, and you don't even realize it.
I get it, but a lot of people who hold those positions almost kind of feel that I was being anti-Semitic because I was attacking Israel, and in their mind, from their propaganda, they believe that you know what I'm saying, Zionism is directly tied to being Jewish. And I don't believe that. And I would always say I'm pro-Jew, anti-Zionist, but they wouldn't look at it that way. And I understand when you make somebody believe that they're a victim, they'll go along with anything.
No, but listen, like Norm Finkelstein and Nick Fuentes are not the same person, right? Like
not at all.
Yeah, so it's not like you're hosting Nick Fuentes and defending Adolf Hitler openly or Stu Peters. Like, look, I'll put it this way, man. If you put Stu Peters on your show and had a normal conversation with Stu Peters about the Jews, I would probably never come back and do this again, right? But generally speaking, like you should be allowed to talk to people as long as the dialogue is respectful. And if you know if they got a problem with it, they could easily just call in the show and talk about why they think you're full of shit. Or they could call on the show the next day and talk about how you were wrong in terms of talking with that person. But to just say I don't want to be your friend anymore when you have a publicly available show where people can call in, like there's better options than just not wanting to be somebody's friend over
me and Stu share the same lawyer, so we could have had that happen. I've chose not to do it because
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, it's not that I just once again Nick Fuentes, Stu Peters, it's just too much. When you start denying the fucking Holocaust and all that shit, it's like, yo, man, like, I don't even know if I want to have this space. And I could have made that happen. I just haven't. And if I do make it happen, because I will talk to anybody, I'll debate him on those things.
Dude, Hunter Biden's coming out as a Bitcoin maximalist and shit. Like, this whole thing is a giant psychological operation. Like, you're listening to Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes talk with each other, because I actually listened to it because I was trying to get – so I think this was like when I was this was like a couple weeks ago, and we were going to host – and when I woke up and co-hosted outside. But I was leaving Bucks I was leaving Bucks, which is a bar in Fredericksburg, and I was gonna go drive. And I was talking to like one of the bartenders at another bar, and I was saying that I should just put in like an Alex Jones podcast so I could just not fall asleep on the road. And then he said, "Dude, why don't you put on Nick Fuentes and Hunter Biden?" And I was like, "Actually, yeah, I hate both of them. That might actually keep me awake." And so it didn't keep me awake. I still fell asleep. I pulled off to the side of the road, but I digress. They sounded normal. Like I'm listening to these people talking. I'm like, yo, they sound like normal, down to earth, regular people who could actually bring a country together. And I'm like, why were you not doing this 4 years ago when Joe Biden was in office? Like, why are you not coming out in favor of Bitcoin and Bitcoin maximalism when Ross Ulbricht was rotting away in prison?
He had cracked the smoke, man.
I know, but like, so it's one of those things where I'm just like, you listen to someone like Hunter Biden talk, and that guy sounds like normal and cool and somebody that I would actually want to go and have a beer with and talk with, and sounds like a relatable, genuine human. And I'm just like, well, why couldn't you have said all this stuff while your dad was president? Maybe the country wouldn't have drifted so far apart. So the fact that you're saying this now just makes me feel like this is just it's just another broader.
We do have to wrap up the show, buddy.
Anyway, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
That's my rant on it. It's just
Alex, we love you. Let everybody know where they can find you. I hope you get on stage and start doing some comedy soon. If not, we hope we see you in a city council, but at least we can find you here next Monday. Let's get up a little bit earlier.
Yes, I know. I'm in semi-retirement right now. So we'll see what happens. I should do some comedy though. It'll be fun to do once in a blue.
Alex Stranger, everybody.
Find me. X is the Alex Stranger. YouTube, Alex. I think it's like the Alex. I don't even know what my YouTube is, but just Alex Stranger. Type my name, you'll find my videos. Instagram, Showtime Alex Stranger, Rumble Alex Stranger. I gotta actually start posting and using this more. I've just been hibernating from all this shit, and it's been nice because I'm living in reality, and I have other life kind of happen in the best way possible. But yeah, follow me when I do start posting again. At least you know where to find me. Yep. Or if you want to see clips of the show, follow me on all these accounts because I got to start doing that. All right.
Love you, Alex. Let me get to I got to get a bunch of stuff done. Guys, I want to say thank you to all the callers today. Wesley, Abadu, Lady Alex, Jenny, Kevin. I mean, what a great show. 6 to 7 callers almost. I think it's the most we've ever had. It's funny because a show a couple weeks ago with Alex Stranger, we had almost 2.2 thousand views on Rumble, which was a good show for this show because usually we get close to 1,000. We hit about the 800, 900 mark, but we have to get this show up there, guys, and we're providing a place and a platform where people can call on in. I thought Wesley calling in some great stuff to say, and Snork always brings it. He's one of our professors. Both of our professors called today, Kevin and Snorky. That was great. And the ladies, I'm going to listen to a lot of Queen Latifah today. I'm going to start off with Ladies First. If you haven't heard that song, it's ooh, ladies first, ladies first. That's hip hop, baby, back in the days. Because I love my ladies. I love my peeps out here. You are amazing. I love everybody who calls the show, supports the show, listens to the show. I love the people who disagree with me and still watch the show. Let's continue to help make this grow. We'll be back tomorrow with Nico House, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll be doing that throughout the whole week. And we'll have a slew of guests and people coming on. So please do us a favor. Do the like button, hit the like button, hit the share button. Let's continue to make it grow over here today. It was a fun show. So, Maestro, could we have the music?
It's going.
There it is. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Liz, thank you for tuning in today. And remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep the dialogue flowing and that peace growing. I want to thank everybody who called in today. I want to thank our producer, Gabrielle Freedom. I want to thank everybody in the chat with Wrenches, Fred Edward, Enterman Bill. You guys are amazing. All the callers today. And of course, my ride or die partner, co-host and engineer, Sleepy J. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow. The Truth Wire will be back hopefully on Wednesday with Matt Weinglass and Fiorella Isabel. We'll probably do that around 12:30, 1 o'clock Eastern time. But we got this show all week, and your attendance is mandatory and very necessary. Let's break it, baby. Let's break the bullshit narrative that they're putting out there, and let's get our voices in the forefront. Until then, I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow, and peace.